The draft was fun. It was, but Nick and Olandria, that's some wicked production right there. Nah, the draft I thought was really good. I had a lot of fun watching it this year, even though the Warriors didn't have like a lottery pick or anything like that. And everyone was talking about how emotional this draft was. More crying, more tears. And I thought ESPN, they blessed us without Stephen A for most of it, right? And kept it moving. I think at a certain point you realize like some of these families are really playing up to the camera with the tears and stuff, right? But there were a lot of genuine moments. Shout out Buddy Hield there early on making his cameo. I thought that was dope. But Dub Nation, we had to wait until day 2, round 2, where there was some movement. They trade the 41st pick. I don't know, where'd it go? To Phoenix? Phoenix was doing all sorts of stuff, right? And essentially take 2 bites at the apple with 52 and again then moving to 56, which we'll get to, right? But I think, the train of thought from Dunleavy in the front office is they probably valued a bunch of these guys the same at that point in the draft. And they're like, oh, let's take 2 swings at the plate instead of 1. And so they make the trade to get 2 picks in this second round. And, we have heavy scouting in Australia. You got Taron Armstrong, who is with the Santa Cruz and a part of this organization, who's intriguing. A big, true point guard. Flashy, fun. Go look him up. I scouted him a little bit for the G League on Patreon this year. You wonder if good old Andrew Bogut is maybe a bird in their ear with some of these Australian players, because even before Taron Armstrong, it was Jessup, who had played college basketball in the States, but never made it over. He was a movement shooter. I'm sure he's still playing, but they have really focused in on the Australian talent. As I'm recording this, it's Sunday afternoon, and I've got, 35, 40 minutes of meal prep for my entire week. How? Factor. Fresh, never frozen food delivered directly to your doorstep, all dietitian approved, created by a team of gourmet chefs using ingredients of integrity. And look, I've been using Factor for, going on 2 years now. It's the best service of its kind. Over 35 different meal choices to choose from per week. You've got Smart Cow, Chef's Choice. There's vegan options. What I've been doing lately is throwing in a gourmet order where you get shrimp, filet mignon, there's asparagus, broccoli. And so there's just so many different options. And again, meal prep time, that's the problem. Everybody wants to eat healthy and stick to a routine, but then it's the cleanup, the meal prep, the cooking of the food. And when you add in Factor, it simplifies things and it allows you to stick to that schedule. And you see me, I'm in shape. It's been a slow process, but now that I have it locked in with Factor, it's just going to be a staple of my diet moving forward. So click the link in the description or head to factor75.com and use the code 50alchemy for 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code 50alchemy for 50% off your first box and free shipping at factor75.com. And you look around basketball right now and this new hotbed that is France, they look like they're almost becoming a factory, even in the W, And so all of a sudden they're producing all these freaky athletes. And what was there? Four guys from France drafted this draft, 3 or 4 at least, right? Last year, the number 1 pick. I mean, it's not just Wemby. If you start to look around the league, you realize, and it's funny because, while they are producing these long, freakish athletes, when you think of France and French athletes, there's still kind of a little bit of a stigma of like a soft label. And I'm not saying that that's the case now. Like a lot of these kids look like they're going to be players. I like Koulibaly. I'm not saying now, but that had been a stigma with French athletes. On the flip side of things, when someone says, oh, we got this player, he's Australian, people tend to immediately kind of think, oh, he's probably going to be pretty tough, a little chippy, right? Just personality-wise. And so again, Golden State dials into Australia, and this time it's Alex Tumi. 6'8.5", 7-foot wingspan, 21 years old, played 2 seasons pro in the Australian League. So let's get the measurements here, though, correct. Barefoot, 6'7.75". So rounding up 6'8" barefoot. You imagine he's going to stand around 6'10" in basketball shoes on the court, 6'11" wingspan, excuse me, and 222 pounds. The first thing that I noticed when you turn on the highlights, all I can do is go look at the clips like y'all for now, and we'll scout during Summer League, and I'll get more of a formal scouting report. But, the first thing that stood out to me was he talks, he communicates. If you watch, a lot of the highlights are in transition and stuff. He's pointing, he's talking, right? And you immediately see the high motor and competitive spirit defensively. You're like, okay, he's big, he's moved. You can tell he wants to defend. Really good hands, right? And the fact that you see all these pick six steals, dig down steals, and creating turnovers, it suggests at 21 years old that he anticipates the game, which is super important, especially for the Warriors in their system. Now, again, you could go look at full games and really do the digging on the tape and realize he just gambles way too much. And that's why he gets the highlight reel, has all these steals. But if you watch a whole game, he blew 3 assignments gambling on a steal. That doesn't seem like the case when you look at the steals again in the highlights. They don't seem to be really gambles. They seem to be more of, hey, I know it's about to happen. This is not that risky. I'm there first. I'm a step ahead. And then when he gets out in transition, he's fast. He is fast at that size. He's a strider. He's a straight line driver. And his go-to clearly is the Euro step to the left and then reach back with the right hand. Now, I'm going to throw out a comp here that's rich, but I see some Franz Wagner, ironically, if we want to go back to that Kuminga draft, in size, aggression, and again, a straight line downhill driver who always gets back to the right hand, much like Franz Wagner. Now, Franz, I think, might be a little bit bigger, and to my eye test is probably a better athlete vertically, but Alex seems to have a little more hip bend and wiggle, and it's a similar, I think, mentality out there in him. He seems fiery. He's got a high motor, and I think his instincts are to get downhill. And again, I know that's a rich comp, but the reality is when I look at him play, if he had played at Michigan this year, I could see him being like a lotto pick. There's a lot of potential at that size with that motor and feel for the game. Grab and go potential. Big grab and go potential again because he's comfortable with the ball in his hands. His handle, he just seems more comfortable with the ball in his hands than you might expect in this archetype of player. Now, offensively, 28% from 3. It certainly passes the eye test. The shot's not broken at all. I think what I'm seeing, at least again in this small sample size, is his instincts are to get downhill. His instinct is to drive. And so when he's half of shooting is knowing you want to take it, right? And so I would imagine some of his percentage from behind the arc is kind of like indecision. Like he catches the ball, you could take the shot or you could get downhill and he might not know, but it certainly looks prettier than Franz's release where that goes out, in, and out again. The rebound numbers they're not going to jump out at you. But what I also noticed in the tape is he looks like he moves his feet well enough. Like they had him guarding on the perimeter as well. And so under 5 boards a game at 20 some minutes, it's not bad, right? But I think that because of his versatility defensively, playing the passing lanes and the perimeter, the rebound numbers aren't there. But you imagine with how much he likes physicality and how high his motor is, it shouldn't be a problem. It's funny because you look at him and you kind of say, you know what? He kind of plays how they want Kuminga to play, right? But at the 52nd pick, I think it's a great swing with a lot of upside. And, now what could go wrong? How could this not work out? He turns into Smiley. Now, the athleticism advantage that he has in this Australian league is going to disappear. Like I am interested to see if he can still get to that Euro left right hand move with the size and athleticism in the league. And then again, the 3-point percentage isn't there. Does he lose his confidence in the 3-ball? And at some point he'll have to develop using his left hand at some point. I watched, all the highlights y'all could watch. I only saw him use his left hand once. It was on a putback dunk. But other than that, he is getting back to the right hand no matter what. But again, like Franz Wagner, he's physical, big strider, fast downhill, and he's big enough, it seems, that he can do so. It'd be if he was 6'5", 6'6", you'd be like, I don't know, but like at almost 6'10", and again, with the strides and aggression and physicality, he's probably going to be able to get back to that right hand a lot. But at some point, you're going to have to use the left hand. But I think the defensive instincts and motor and size are going to translate. Offensively, we'll see what happens. You imagine he flourishes in pace. So if you put him around shooting and you put him in pace, I think he's a really nice swing at 52. And I'll throw out another comp here for you, not in necessarily playing style, but in caliber of player. Could he be a more athletic version of Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson, where he's this dynamic big forward who can kind of be on the ball a little bit, grab and go, and is like really good defensively? Could he be some sort of version of that? And so Alex Tui, I'm intrigued. That's what's fun about this time of the year. Why shouldn't you be? Don't get me wrong. There have been times where you're like, I don't know about this guy. But this dude, you take a look at the tape and it's easy to see the intrigue and potential, I think, also in the Warriors system, in this Australian connection that they're perhaps building. And again, Summer League, we'll take a look. Hopefully he'll get over here and play, and we can see him amongst NBA athletes. Now, the Warriors jumped back down in the draft to 56 from 59 to pick up Will Richards out of Florida. 6'4", 210 pounds, 6'10" wingspan, coming off a natty, right? And a 3-year college player. He's 22 years old. He kind of looks like what they thought Moody would be. Like, I know I'm using these, but you see what I'm getting at here. I'm not saying either one of them is insurance per se, but you look at Tui and you're like, it's kind of that power forward that's what they're looking for, right? And now a 2-guard that's 3-and-D like Moody was coming out, and this kid looks like he's ready to compete for Moody's spot right now. Again, at 22 years old, the shot's pretty, better athlete than Moody when he gets out in transition, and high motor defensively. Florida, it's not Baylor as far as like the pedigree of defender you're going to get, but in a way you're like, okay, Florida, that he's going to be fundamentally sound, and he was held accountable defensively. And so, man, it's crazy because the draft is still so based on potential, because you look at Richard, Caleb Love out of Arizona, like these guys are, if you're talking about right now, today, the chances of them coming in and contributing and having a nice career, I don't know. I'm obviously not in that spot, but you'd feel like these guys, I thought these guys would go more late first round with the way the league is moving. But at the same time, the way the league is moving with this new CBA, the second round has become far more important, something that the Warriors, I think, have figured out sooner than other teams, because they had been in this cap situation almost before with the super team and everything like that. And so some of these players, the teams are waiting for that second round for the long-term contract that they can give them with the rules, from what I understand. Both of these guys look like they could make the roster and, give them with a 4-year, basically minimum deals, and have contributors. That's going to be extremely valuable moving forward. And I get it. People get sensitive with players that they're rooting for and they don't like this. But again, what also stood out to me with these two guys is Kuminga and Moody insurance, especially Will Richard with this pick here. We'll see. Like hopefully, I assume he's going to play summer league as well. The shot's pretty, man. Yeah. Sign me up. I am headed out of town to Vegas this weekend. So if news breaks and you're wondering where I'm at, that's where I'm at. But I will be back Monday as free agency opens up. And then again, if you're not familiar, Patreon, I've covered Warriors Summer League, 7-8 years in a row. And that's where we'll get a game-by-game breakdown of these young players that the Warriors are taking a swing on. And all in all, you can't complain. You can't complain. Again, at this time of the year, most of the time, it's easy to be positive about all these picks. But there have been times where it's like, oof, right? But these two, they fit the bill, and I'm excited to see what they can bring to the table. As always, hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.